we don't want to do that, so it doesn't matter. You will take video so that later you can.
Very happy afternoon to everybody. Welcome to our first mastery class for GetEmployed.today. It's actually in collaboration with Multimedia University. And today the topic for this mastery class is actually creative video production, a very important skill that you have to pick up. As you know that in the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, many people have lost their jobs or lost their businesses, and times have been challenging. But because of another reason that if they are going to get back into a better position, it is to pick up skills, because skills today is the one that companies and businesses are looking for when they want to employ people. But before I continue, I did not introduce myself. I'm sorry. I was so excited to start. I'm Rani. I'm the co-founder and COO of LTT Global Communication Sendirian Berhad. We are actually a digital learning company for the last 17 years. Our vision is actually to make learning accessible and affordable. And we want to do projects that actually help to empower people and transform organizations. And currently, GetEmployed.today is our latest nationwide impact project to help unemployed Malaysians to come back and get back on their feet, right? So I want to encourage all of you to attend both the days. Today, our facilitator and trainer is Encik Firdaus, and tomorrow it will be Encik Nazim. And both days are very important. First of all, is for your own upskilling. But second of all, Dr. Koo, who is actually our partner, Multimedia University partner with us, strategic partner. She has also got some Grab vouchers to give for people who attended both days. And so I think that's a good way for you to also get an incentive to come for both days, right? And also certificates are given out. So please enjoy the sessions. I'm sure Encik Firdaus will share important things with you. And tomorrow, Encik Nazim as well. So have an enjoyable workshop. And I hope to see you all producing videos, because all things in the world today run on videos. Any company that you go and you say you have video skills, they will look at your CV harder than another CV, okay? So best of luck and enjoy. Take care. Over to you, Dr. Koo or Encik Firdaus.
Yeah, I think thank you, Madam Rani. Thank you, participants, for registering to this. So I shall pass this to Encik Firdaus. I do not need to speak anything. It's just that we would like to gather, also jot down your attendance. And my student, Max Jean, will be helping on that. And also at the end, we like to have an evaluation via the chat box in the Zoom. So we will post that. So over to you, Encik Firdaus. Please introduce yourself also. Thank you.
All right. A very good afternoon, everyone. So I hope you guys had a wonderful lunch this afternoon. Right. So my name is Firdaus. I'm a filmmaker, also a videographer, and also a lecturer in Multimedia University. Teaching mostly visual effects and also video production related subjects, right? So for today, I'm going to mostly share to you my past experience and also some of the theories that you can at least could gain your knowledge, to upscale your knowledge so that you have the understanding to create a better video outcome, especially if you are doing a video for your social media or for your short film. or any video related product. All right. I think from my latest list that I saw yesterday, we have about 45 participants in this session. And I think when I check the your education background, I think some of you guys are just finished SPM, and some of you guys are actually doing PhD also and doing degree. So I think in terms of the understanding of the camera, I think I'm just going to share from the very basic one, because I think probably some of you guys might not know from the very basic in terms of the theory of the camera. Okay, so let me just share my screen. And okay, just give me a few minutes. Okay, I'm just going to explain more about myself, right? So that, because just now it was a very brief introduction. So again, my name is Firdaus Hashim. I'm a filmmaker and also an award-winning visual effects artist in 84th Academy Awards. In Best Visual Effects, I was working in The Life of Pi, and also I was working on this local project as well, which is Interchange, that has won the 58th Asia Pacific Film Festival for Best Visual Effects. All right. And I was graduated in Multimedia University in 2009, and my final project gains ASRO Next Gen Award as well in 2009. So basically that is my stepping stone for my career to upscale my own knowledge. Just after graduated, I was working in this Hollywood-based company doing visual effects, which is called Rhythm and Hue Studios. And I was working in the span of 4 years. So in that span of 4 years, I was working like for I think about 10 Hollywood movies. Okay. And in 2013, I co-founded my own visual effects studio, where we was working in a number of international projects, doing TV commercial, and also mostly video related, video production related, and also visual effects related product. And also I'm also actively in the local music video creation. I'm just going to share later on in terms of the list that I have working on. And also in 2013, I've joined Multimedia University officially as a lecturer. So right now, I think right now it's 2021. So it's been like 8 years that I've been teaching in MMU. So whatever knowledge that I gain from the industry, hopefully I'll transfer it back to my student, and also for those who are joining this session today. Again, for today, mostly I'm just going to explain to you about theory, but for tomorrow is the continuation from today's topic, where you have to do and you have to be exposed with the actual video editing exercise tomorrow. But I will explain more later afterward, especially just before the end of the class. I'm probably just gonna explain a bit more about tomorrow's session. Okay, this is my teaching experience, where, like I mentioned just now, it's video production related, production in visual effects design, advanced compositing. and also computer graphics related subject. These are the common services, visual effects, directing, editing, cinematography, and also aerial shooting using a drone. Okay, these are some of my visual effects projects. This is actually not updated, right? The most recent work that I've worked on for visual effects was a TV commercial for Taobao. Like for those who didn't know Taobao, Taobao is something like a Shopee or Lazada in Malaysia, but Taobao is more on Chinese market in China. All right. I think I was working for about few months ago, like 2 months ago. And then other than that, I was working in this Ghost Bride project. It's a Netflix TV series. I'm the compositing lead for the project. And also in 2009, I was in Los Angeles for a project for a month to supervise this. This is just a B-grade movie, but since it was shot in Los Angeles, so it's something like a new experience for me in terms of the experience in working in Malaysia and also working outside Malaysia. Right. I'm the supervisor, visual effects supervisor, in for that project. So I usually be on site and advise to the production team what things has to be done correctly in order for us, the video editor people, can work more easily in post-production stage. Right. These are some of the local film which is Interchange, where we have won the 50th Asia Pacific Best Visual Effects in 2018. And this is Anak Merdeka TV series, where we have to recreated the if you look at the image over there, on the left side is the original background, while on the right side is the edited video. So we have to recreate the stadium with all of the crowds. These are some of the international projects that I was working on in the Hollywood-based company, like from 2009 to 2013. Snow White Enhancement, Life of Pi, Life of Evan and the Chipmunks 3, The Bond Legacy, and there are a few more. So these are my IMDb credits. So this is the Internet Movie Database. So these are, if you look at on the right side, those are the projects that I've been working on before this. I have like Seven Sons, Born Legacy, Snow White, Papa's Penguin, Hop, Yogi Bear, and this is just one short video clip from Alina Murang, where I was the one of the camera operator, where I have to operate the drone. All right. So these are some of my directing projects. So this is a campaign for Petronas campaign, where we have to shoot at the at UTP, which is the University Technology Petronas, and there's a lot of things happening over here. Even this is, if you look at this one image over here, if you look at the blue lights, so in that actual place, there is no blue lights over there. So basically, when we go on that location, so we practically install the blue lights, so it will give the sense of like a slightly futuristic lab, and also it's pleasing to the eye because we are playing with colors as well. Because if there is no blue light over there, it's just going to look quite plain with a very warm light. So this one, in this particular shot, we installed the blue light so that we have the balanced color between the warm light, which is on the background, and also the colder light, which is the blue lights over there. This is another Petronas campaign as well. All right. some of the local music video. This one, I think, was shot in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And in the span of 24 hours, we have gotten 1 million views in YouTube. This is another music video as well. So these are the lights that we installed practically as well. If you look at basically this place is actually an old, very old tunnel in Shah Alam Stadium. So we decorated the stadium to make it slightly futuristic. Another music videos. All right. And this is some of my travel films. I used to travel quite a lot, just right before pandemic. Right. So since this pandemic, I think I've not traveled outside Malaysia for about one year and plus minus 1 year plus. And this particular in Myanmar videos has been selected as a Vimeo staff pick. Vimeo staff pick is a community where just the best video has been selected by the moderator in that whole website. Right, another one, winter in Japan. So these are the link as well for the video, but I'm just gonna share you later on in terms of the full length of the video. This one is in Morocco. So if you look over here, just as an example, this clouds over here is actually not a real clouds. So this cloud is actually been added in editing. Right, in the actual shot, the cloud are just in gray, so it doesn't look that pleasing to the eye. So this is just something like a sky replacement where you have to enhance the sky and basically it's going to enhance the image overall and also it will more look pleasant to the eye to look at. In Sri Lanka, and these are some of the awards and recognition. And yep, so I'm just gonna stop this screen first, and I'm just gonna share you guys some of the videos that I shot in Morocco. All right, just give me a few seconds. All right, that is a travel film that I shot in Morocco. Did you believe that if I told you that in the whole video, all of the sound, especially like just like this one, the motorbike sound and the car sound, are all been added on afterward in video editing, right? Because even at this part over here, let me just forward. Yep, even this one. So what happened was, let me just stop this screen. So what happened was, while shooting the video in Morocco, I didn't notice that actually my camera mic was on mute for the whole that particular days in Morocco. So that was a very, very downside of video production, because I'm not sure why I didn't notice about that the mic was not on. So basically, when I went back to the hotel, and then even though the next day I continued video shooting, but after a few days, and then only I tend to check my footage. And then when I check my footage, I totally forgotten to switch on the mic on my mic device. So so in video, it's very, very good to have some kind of ambient sound, which is the original sound, so that it will, when people listen to it, people feel that they kind of in that area when they listen to the ambient sound. So what I did was I tried to find as close sound as possible to the video and try to re-edit back, and hopefully it does not sound weird. So when I render the video and when I checked back the outcome, so I'm kind of quite happy about it. I'm not sure whether all of you guys can notice in terms of the sound editing. So if you didn't notice that the ambient sound has been added on for the whole video, so it means that I was doing quite a good job in sound editing. All right. So let's share another screen. Let's start with camera basic. Anyone of you has a camera or right now actively doing videography? Just a quick question. Or do you guys have any experience in shooting video? And also, yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys uploaded a lot of videos in your Instagram, right? Or maybe TikTok. Right? So right now, it's okay because some of you guys, just let me check the chat box. I'm just using phone, right? It's okay. For those who using phone, it's actually right now phone is kind of can produce a lot of and also high quality videos, especially those phones that can shoot 4K. Right. To be honest, when I started my videography back then, I think I started actively in 2011, right? When I was working in India for 3 months. I was working in India, and then in the end of the period, so I didn't go back to Malaysia, and instead I go for a trek in Everest Base Camp, right? So what I did was I didn't have any camera. the only thing that I have with me was my iPhone 4. All right. So all the things that I did is just like shooting with my iPhone 4 back then. And then I edited the video and posted in my Vimeo. If you log into my Vimeo page on the internet, I still have the very first video that I uploaded from my iPhone 4. So that when I look at the list of the video that I have, I kind of can see the progress that I made, all right, from iPhone 4, and then gradually becomes better and better. All right. So I think don't be shy in creating a content or in uploading your videos. All right. So it's always good to start somewhere better rather than just like didn't start anything. Okay. Okay. Wait. What I was doing just now. Okay, sharing. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so I think some just now in the comment box, I think some of you guys are still learning photography and some are just using using a phone. So that's okay. So because this workshop is totally for everyone to learn. Right, let's look at a few of cameras and also things behind cameras that can make your video looks cinematic. All right. So first thing first, why videography? All right. So there's a few points. Basically, this is very subjective from a person to another person. Right. Some people has different perspective, but I think for me, storytelling through video can motivate your audience rather than just showing an image. Right. If you shoot a video, you could kind of walk through the audience and see how things are. Especially if you are doing a food product, all right, or a food review, if you have a video, so you can kind of guide the audience. It feels that the audience feels that they are in that whole situation while you enjoying the food, right? And like I mentioned just now, also storytelling through video is more engaging, right? Storytelling through video helps with your brand as well. And also video comprises all other medium, right? Video has the ability to include all other visual, especially if you shoot a video and then if you added some more infographics, all right? Like a small text that explaining, for example, if you're doing food review, explaining whether it's delicious, or probably you can just put a delicious text. So in video, it can be a lot more mediums and also a lot of assets that you can jump and combine it together and create a great video, combine it, all things into one. All right. Okay, first thing first, before you start, choosing the right camera is very important. All right. So great stories need to be filmed with 100,000 camera, ringgit camera, all right, a crew of hundreds, and a budget in the millions. All right, but this is what I'm sharing over here. Like this particular camera is for the actual TV commercial or Hollywood, or at least a feature film in Malaysia or in international feature film. All right, but don't worry, don't be discouraged about that in terms of the camera price, but right now I'm just explaining the choices that you have. All right, so these are a few of the cameras that is available in the market. The one that I didn't include is the phone camera. All right, and first thing first that we have is the SLR. Okay, this is pretty common back then. When this is actually an old camera. If you look at the image, it's 5D Mark IV, if I'm not mistaken. But if you happen to watch the Iron Man, the very first Iron Man, there's one racing scene, if I'm not mistaken. So instead of using a camera, a cinema camera, instead they are using DSLR camera, because back then DSLR camera is small enough to be fitted in a car, all right, a small racing car, and then they use that as the final video even in their actual feature. Okay, even right now, I think the Iron Man movie is, I think, probably before GoPro. Right now, GoPro tends to shoot very good quality videos as well. Even right now, GoPro 10 just released in the market, but I think the price is probably around 2,000 ringgit also. Okay, and price range for the SLR, I think it can go I think from 3,000 to probably like very expensive, like maybe more than 10,000. And for mirrorless camera, I think there's a lot of cameras out there, which I think a lot of consumers are using mirrorless camera. Okay, like even me myself, I'm using Fujifilm X-T3, like the one that included in the photo. Why I chose this camera is because it is small enough for traveling, and also it is very good to take a photo, and also it's very good camera to shoot a video as well. All right, another quite renowned camera is actually from Sony. All right, there's a number of products that is made by Sony, especially the famous one is the A series, or A7S series, and the A6000 series. There's a lot of variation that you can choose from. All right, it's all about the price. All right, the more you pay, or the more ringgit that you are willing to spend, the higher quality that you will get in terms of the quality, and also in terms of the focus speed or the technicality of the camera itself. Okay, the other one that we have is cinema camera. All right, this usually is the high-end camera, and also it can shoot RAW. I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with RAW. I think some of you guys might familiar with it. But if you shoot RAW, for example, if you didn't shoot RAW, right? If you take a photo from your phone, and then if you take an outdoor shot with a very bright sunlight, so most probably your image is going to be like plain white, from especially at the sky area, right? Because it's like very bright. And when you try to darken it in Photoshop or in your editing software, most probably you are not able to gain back the detail of the sky, because it's totally overexposed. It's like totally white. And for cinema camera, it can shoot RAW in video, right? So basically the video is in RAW. So the best thing about RAW file is that if you accidentally shoot a very overexposed sky, for example, like a very bright sky, and when you import your file in the editing software, you are able to adjust the sky. That is the best in terms of the RAW file, right? You can just reduce the amount of brightness or levels to get the detail of the sky back. All right. So, but the bad thing about RAW is that the file is very big. If you are using a mirrorless camera, mirrorless camera can shoot RAW as well, but it's just a photo, right? Just a RAW photo. But cinema camera usually RAW video. And I've used cinema camera before, and for 500 gigabyte, I can only like gotten probably like 20 to 30 minutes of video inside for 500 gigabytes. And also I am shooting straight to hard disk. It's not using a SD card, all right? Straight from hard disk. I think I can show you. I even have the hard disk right now. Okay, for normal camera, usually you guys are just like doing using the probably micro SD, right? The very small one, micro SD, or this is SD card, right? This is the normal one. But for the cinema camera that I use this straight record the video straight from this hard disk. So basically, I'm connecting this hard disk to the camera, and it will shoot accordingly inside the hard disk straight. Because if we are using if we are shooting raw on a micro SD, so micro SD is in terms of the speed, it is not fast enough to process a very large image. All right. Okay, I think I can just skip this because I've already explained in terms of the camera. Here again, cinema camera. And now we have like even 8K camera right now. 8K cinema camera. I've never used an 8K camera before this, but I couldn't imagine the file size that we have to spend in terms of hard disk to get the complete film. Okay. Okay, camera equipments and accessories. So these are some of the very basic and very important equipments and accessories. First thing first is lens. I think probably most of you guys know what lens is all about. Right? There's a number of brands. I think the most known one is Zeiss or Sony or even Fujifilm. Usually, if there's a camera brand that is producing a camera, usually they will produce their own lens as well. Okay. And then the other thing we have is the filter. Filter is also very important, especially if you are shooting in a very bright area, right? Especially outdoor. And if it's very bright, what you can do is you can just put a filter on it to make it to basically to cut the light. It's something similar like you are walking outside and you are wearing your sunglasses, right? It's pretty much the same, just to cut the light. The other one is memory card. I think I've explained just now. And on the right side, we have stabilizer. So stabilizer right now, I think is one of the most important equipments that videographers should have, right? Because usually if you are shooting a video using your hand, it is going to be very shaky. So stabilizer is the equipment that you have to have, especially if you want to have a very smooth video, even when you are running. All right, I've tried a few stabilizer before, and it really helps a lot. Okay. There's even a stabilizer for phone as well. If you look up DJI is a brand. It's a drone brand, but they have come out with a few stabilizers for cameras as well, and also mobile phone. If you Google up DJI Osmo Mobile 5, all right, there's a new one, DJI Osmo Mobile 5. That is the quite good quality phone stabilizer that you can have in the market. And then tripod is very, very basic. I think it's just a tripod. And then camera bag, stuff that you want to put inside. And then lighting. Lighting is also very important. Also, especially if you are shooting in a very low lighting condition, especially at night. All right. External lighting definitely helps to brighten up your area. But usually, if for example, for myself, if I go out for during my travel and I shoot, usually I'm just going to use a natural light source, especially the sun, right? So we have to place the talent properly so that it will have a better lighting on the face using just a natural light, like a sunlight, or probably a mall, like shopping mall light or a corridor light, right? Because while traveling, usually I used to travel light, so I don't really want to bring all of those stuff while traveling, right? Because if you are traveling heavy with all of those equipment, trust me, you are not going to enjoy your travel time. Okay. And extra batteries is also very, very important, especially if you are shooting a video. Right now, I have 3 extra batteries for my camera, and so far 3 is the good number for me to get those things shoot, and also those traveling shot while traveling. Yeah, but it also depends on the camera as well. Some cameras tend to eat up the battery life quite strong, right? So you have to, it's best for you to check on the battery power first before you go out for travel. There's a case where when I was traveling to Thailand, right? I brought my drone already, and then everything, including the batteries, right? And drone batteries, but I've forgotten to bring the drone battery charger. Right? That is one of the most problematic stuff as well that I have encountered. So so my advice is double check everything before you go out for travel. It's fine if you are traveling from Cyberjaya to KL, all right? So, but if you are traveling from a country to another country, so that is quite sad, especially if you forgot to bring your charger. Okay, so here are the camera standard file format. Like I mentioned just now, we have RAW, which contains a very, very high quality image. So it is the biggest file over there in the market. And also we have MOV file. MOV is the QuickTime format from Apple, and it has different codecs as well, like Apple ProRes or Apple Proxy. I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with it, but there are some of the codecs that you have in terms of the option that you can render on in the software, right? I think probably the trainer tomorrow is going to explain a bit more about that. And after that, we have MPEG-4, which is the MP4. I think MP4 is pretty similar to MOV. Honestly, I couldn't couldn't differentiate what are the differences between these two files, which is the MOV and MP4, because both are QuickTime format. But what I noticed, if I use MP4, when I drag my file into my Google Chrome, I'm able to play the video itself from my local file. While MOV, if I drag my video to my Google Chrome, I'm not able to play. Instead of playing, it will download the file again. But in terms of the rendering quality and image quality, in terms of video rendering, both are actually quite good in in giving the high quality product. Right, these are some of the video standard resolution. Right, this is very important, right, for you to know. If right now, I think probably you guys are familiar with Full HD. All right, Full HD is in terms of the pixel count, it is 1920 times 1080. So if you are in a software and if you are creating the size of the image, right? For example, in the Photoshop or whatever, in Canva or any other editing image or video software. So if you are creating a file which is 1920 times 1080, it means that you are creating a file which is in Full HD, right? That is Full HD format. So even if you are at a like electronic store, if you look at the TV section and if you look at the stickers, right, it stated that it's Full HD. So if it's Full HD, so the TV is actually showing you the 1920 times 1080 file size. Okay, same goes with Netflix as well. If you look at the info on the Netflix title, it says HD. So if it says HD, it means 1920 times 1080. All right. So that's Full HD, but there's a lot more format. For example, in cinema, you have 2K size. Instead of 1920, they have like 2120 pixel, if I'm not mistaken. Then it goes up furthermore, especially 4K, where you have those 4000 pixel times 2000 pixel. It's even more bigger in size. So this is the sample of pixels, right? Like, for example, the Full HD that I explained to you right just now was 1920 pixel, right? So this one, the image on the right, is having 512 pixels times 512, while on the left side we have like 16 times 16. So if you look at the differences, the lower pixels that you have, the more pixelated image that you will have, right? So basically, the bigger pixels that you have, the sharper image that you will have in terms of the outcome, right? But the bigger pixels that you have will require to have a bigger storage, because the file is probably quite slightly bigger, right? If you tend to boost up your pixel. But of course, in our age right now, we are not going to produce a very pixelated product, all right? Especially if you want to promote a brand. So this is a very no situation, right? Even if you want to send image or video to client, so just make sure that you double check the requirement and also double check whether you are having the right pixel. Okay. So these are other samples, all right? This is 4K, Ultra HD 4K, 3840 times 2160, Full HD, right? And half HD over here. And we have VGA, all right? This format is also available in YouTube as well, especially there's a setting like a gear icon in on YouTube. If you click that, these are the normal resolution that you will encounter while viewing a video. It's pretty standard worldwide. Okay, now probably let's before we jump into frame rate, I'm just gonna stop this one and share my other videos. And meanwhile, maybe I can just double check the chat box over here. Okay. Wow, okay, someone Colin, I think you've put up the Osmo mobile link. Thank you for that. Okay, let me just share you guys another traveling video. This time, okay, let me just skip this. This time we will be in Japan. Right. Okay. Okay, just now when I show you guys, okay, when I was in Japan this time, I think this one was in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 2017 or maybe 2018. Right, I brought up a very small camera in 2018. That is why if you look at the dark part or the dark shot over here, especially this one, and also yeah, this one, if you look closely, it tends to have a kind of noise and grain. So sometimes it doesn't look pleasing to the eye, right? So this is something that you will encounter, especially if you are using a small camera. Okay, small camera usually is using or are using a very small sensor. All right, so every camera has its own sensor. So we have a full frame sensor, like a very micro four third sensor, and then you have APS-C sensor. There's a lot of sensors out there, but usually for smaller camera like a GoPro, like any more smaller camera, even our phone camera, using a very small sensor. So that is why if you are shooting a video at night with a small camera, it will introduce you this noise, right? So there's a reason why this thing happening in terms of the noise and how to avoid that. All right, so I'll explain to it afterward in my slide. The other thing is actually this one. All right. So this one, obviously, it's a drone shot. All right. So just be mindful if you are shooting a drone. It doesn't have any sound. right? In the beginning, it doesn't have any sound. Even if drone is recording a sound, it will just record the sound of the propeller, right? Or the fan, right? So just make sure that to make your video a bit better, just make sure that if you have a drone shot, just add some sounds in it. Like this one, I just added like a waterfall kind of sound. Okay, just let me play. All right. So sometimes you have to play with sound as well. For this one, I have slightly high volume in terms of the waterfall. And when I switch to this side, I kind of lower down the volume a bit because technically we are further away from the waterfall, right? So that is how we kind of engage your audience, right? And hopefully that thing will kind of, it's not cheat, it's something that will please their ears to hear, all right? And if you are doing sound editing, the sound is going to be like here, like very kind of realistic, right? Because things which is further away from you, from camera, tends to have a very low in volume. Right, the other thing about this video is actually sometimes I hired a person to be in my video, especially in this back in Japan video over here. I hired this local talent and asked them to become and also to act in my video. Right. So it's a bit hard in Japan because Japanese are not really familiar. They are familiar with English, but they are not communicating well in English. Right. So sometimes it's just like a what you call it, like a chicken and duck kind of situation. But they are actually very helpful and very, very nice people. In this video, I hired two talent. One is this one, and also the other one is the one in the city. This one as well. So because sometimes especially if you are traveling, if you are just showing the scenery without any subject, it will look very, very boring. Trust me. All right. If you have a video like it's lucky if you have only 3 minutes. So just imagine that if you have like a 6 minutes of video, this is like scenery, right? Scenery here, scenery there, all right, and then everything is scenery, all right. If you, I'm not sure about you, but for me, if I look at a video for 2 minutes, it's just a view without any subject, it will look quite plain. Right, in terms of the storytelling, is just going to look very plain, and it doesn't have those what you call it, graph. It doesn't have any up and down. It's just like very, very plain. Okay, so subject sometimes is very, very important. So that is why I am combining a scenery shot with a talent shot to connect my story to my video. Even this one, if you look at my cut over here, from this shot to this shot, right? I'm using the same position of the talent, but I cut it to another scene. And also, if you notice at my editing, I tend to switch my cut from one cut to another cut, or from one shot to another shot, according to my music beat. Right, so music is very, very important. If you let me just play away. Oh, sorry. So just listen to the music and try to notice where I switch the videos, right? Usually I'm going to switch the video from according to the sound bit. That's just a few samples. I'm not sure whether you can view it smoothly from your side. I think if your connection is quite low, it might look a bit laggy, right? But if you want to look at the full video, you can just check out my Vimeo page later on. All right. So let me just double check the chat box. There's a question, what is the theme? All right, so for the Japan video, I'm trying to show the differences between the traditional side of Japan and also the technological or city side of Japan, right? That is why one shot or one portion, especially in the beginning of the story, I tend to show those very kind of very traditional video, like the shrine, right? The Japanese shrine, and then the girl with kimono. So I'm trying to show that. Okay. Okay, Hafiza, that's good that you notice. Okay. Let me just share back my PDF file. So as we go along, so this thing that I'm explaining, it's not this one, sorry. This is different file. The theory that I'm sharing is gradually become technical, right? So just if you have any question, I think you can just jot down on the comment section, and maybe afterward I can just attend back to your question. Sorry, where is my file? I keep, okay, this one, all right, sorry. Okay, now we go to frame rate, right? So what is frame rate? So frame rate is a set of images that we combine together to make it as a video. All right. So for example, in Malaysia, the frame rate of our television is 25 frames per second. Right. So when I said 25 frames per second, this the word frame that I mentioned is actually image. All right. So it means that in 1 second, we have 25 images. Okay, so that is frame rate. So what happens if you have a slower frame rate or not enough frame rate? For example, if you have 10 frames per second. So if you have 10 frames per second, and if you play the video is going to be very fast. It's going to be fast and choppy, right? Sometimes it's going to look like a stop motion. Okay, so that is if you are having the lesser frame rate. So if you are having a very high frame rate, like for example 60 per second. So when I said 60 frames per second, it means that you have like 60 images in 1 second, right? So usually if you play the video, since it has like tons of image inside, the video is going to look super smooth, right? But you can notice it in YouTube as well. If you go to the setting, and there is a probably full HD with 60 numbers at the end of the full HD text. So when you click that, the video is going to be a bit smooth, like very, very smooth. But to be honest, I don't really enjoy the smooth viewing because it doesn't, it's probably different to in your opinion, but in my opinion, it looks a bit too smooth and it doesn't look natural. Sometimes it looks quite fake. All right. So these are the lists of common frame rate that you will encounter. In cinema, they are using 24, right? In Malaysia, cinema is also 24, but in Malaysian TV, they are using 25 image per second, 25 frames per second. And then in America and Japan, they are using 30 frames per second. So if you're in America or if you're in Japan, if you switch on their TV, so the image or the video of that coming out from the TV tend to have slight smoothness in the video. Okay. We have 60 frames per second where you can have a very smooth, what you call it, viewing. Okay, another thing that you can do with this frame per second, right? For example, if you are shooting 60 frames per second, right? So if you are having 60 frames per second, so instead of 1 second, but if you stretch it to 2 seconds in the video editing software. So when you stretch that 60 frames per second to 2 seconds, it will become slow motion. All right. So I'm not sure whether this is this makes sense, but the higher frame rate that you have, for example, 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, if you have this higher frame rate, it is possible to you to make a very slow motion video. All right. I think probably there is some option also in your phone. I'm using my old iPhone 10. Right, they have an option where I can shoot 120 frames per second, if I'm not mistaken. So when I play that, or maybe you can try it on your phone, if you play that, it's going to be in slow motion. All right. Allow me to drink some sip of water. Very, very tasty. Okay, that is the end of one slide. You guys want to have a break or something, or maybe 15 minutes break for you guys, probably to have a drink, because I talk quite a lot. Or I can just continue. Okay, Angeline, that is very, very interesting. Question. All right. So I actually myself was having the same problem. All right. When I show you the Morocco video just now, right? Right. Yeah, I've been detained before in Morocco's airport because I brought a drone. Right. So when I was in Morocco, so before I touched down Morocco, I was in London. All right. I was in London traveling, and after London, I have to take a flight to Morocco. Right. So the drone that I brought together with me is very, very huge. Very, very. I think it's trust me, it's bigger than your luggage. It's very, very large. And I don't know, when I touched down in Morocco, the police or security over there actually stopped me, correct? After the immigration, the security actually stopped me and they brought me to the detained room and they checked everything. They checked everything including my drones, my passport, and my camera. All right. So unfortunately, Morocco didn't allow any drones to go inside their country. All right. So so it's when I was in Morocco, they advised me whether they have to like detain the drone and keep it in the airport, or I can post up my drone somewhere else, right? So since I'm will be traveling back to London, so I have no choice. I have to post my drone back to London by postage, and it cost me 500 ringgit, and that's one. And then when I was back in London to collect my drone, the drone is actually has been taxed by the authority in the UK. So I have to pay like 500 ringgit more for the tax. So just like that, I'm actually kind of have to spend like 1,000 ringgit just for that problem, right? So in the future, just make sure that you Google up those countries, whether they able drone to come inside the country or not. Usually, if you Google it, there should be an answer for you to get the answer. But especially before this, if you want to travel to India, you are not able to bring a drone together with you. But I think since a year ago or 2 years ago, they actually allow the drone to come in, which is good actually. So yeah, just make sure that you double check the local website of the local tourism website of the country that you want to travel to. All right. Okay. I think each and every countries has their own drone organization. So I think I'm not the best person to answer whether it's from the immigration or from the local government, but try to probably, if you want to Google up, you can just try and Google up, is drone allowed in this certain country. If you Google something like that, it should be, there's probably a lot of articles that you can read. Yeah, and also it's sometimes it's true, Angeline, but it's also it depends from case to case. All right. For example, for me, I think probably because traveling with just a friend without any proper permit. If you are traveling with permit, with a shooting permit, then I think it shouldn't be a problem. Right? Permit is also very, very important for you guys to have. Okay. So let's go to my second slide. And let's just give me a few minutes. All right. So getting the right exposure. So this is a topic which is very, very important, especially the technical side of how to get a proper lighting condition, right? Especially if you are shooting outdoor on a bright sunny day, or if you are shooting in a very dark place or during the night. Okay, all right. So how does exposure work? So camera exposure is the overall brightness and also overall darkness of a photograph or a video. All right. More specifically, is the amount of light that comes through the camera sensor. And also, the more you expose the film or camera sensor to light, the brighter your photo will be. All right. So the less light, the darker your photo will be. And to explain a bit more, furthermore about that, we go to ISO. Right. I think for those who are using a camera right now, you guys probably familiar with ISO. But ISO is simply a camera setting that will brighten or darken a photo or video, right? So for example, if you are shooting at night, if you brighten up the ISO or increase the number, your video is going to be brighter. But the downside of ISO is, especially if you are using just a entry level camera, you will have a noise or grain, right? Especially at the darker area. Also, if you notice the Japan video that I showed you just now, where I shot it in low light condition, there's a grain, right? So that is actually coming from the ISO. Okay, because my ISO setting was too high. Right, because I'm using a small camera, so I have to boost up the ISO to make it brighter, but downside, it will introduce noise. Okay. So this is ISO adjustment example, all right? So on the left side, if you can see from the screen, it's super dark, all right? That is ISO 100. And if you go to ISO 1600, it will become brighter. Okay. But this is the downside that I mentioned just now. ISO 200, if you look at the sample, you have like very minimal noise, or even if you are using high-end camera, it might not have noise at all. If you boost up the ISO, you will have this kind of noise. Right? Cool. That is ISO. So now we go to shutter speed. Okay, shutter speed is the length of time the camera shutter is open, exposing light into the camera sensor. Okay, essentially it's how long your camera spends taking a photo. This has a few important effects on how your images will appear. All right, so shutter speed is also very important. All right, if your shutter is low, if you shoot a moving camera or moving people, the subject of the photo that you are taking is going to look blur, right? Because the shutter speed is not correct and it is not fast enough to capture the movement of the subject. All right. So if that's happened, if you take a photo and it tends to have a very shaky or blurriness on your image, you can increase your shutter speed. Okay, but for shutter speed, if you increase the shutter speed, it will make your image darker, right? This is opposite with ISO. For ISO, if you increase, it will make your image brighter, right? But for shutter speed, if you increase the shutter, it will make your image darker, but everything in the video will be sharp, right? So this is the give and takes of cameras technical side that you have to know. All right. So for example, if you are not able to use what you call it, higher ISO, what you can do is you can just reduce the shutter speed, all right, to make it brighter, something like that. You have to mix and match. But before that, you have to understand the process behind the or mathematical equation in the system. Okay. Okay, this is the sample of the shutter speed adjustment. If you look at the image on the left, it is 5 seconds, right? It's a long shutter speed shot. Right, for example, in this case, when the photographer click the shutter, all right, in 5 seconds, only the shutter is going to capture the image. So it is very, very long. So with that, because the shutter is very, very slow, you could see that the water that is falling from the waterfall looks very, very smooth, right? Because it is very, very slow, and it's actually looks very flowy because it is actually blurry, that caused from our shutter speed, the low shutter speed. While on this one, on the right side, you can see that everything is sharp. Even this dolphin over here is jumping out from the water surface, and it is not blur, and it's quite sharp. Even the water splashes, right? And then if you double check, the shutter speed is very, very fast. It's like 1/1600th of a second. So this is very, very sharp. All right. And if you remember that I mentioned just now, when we increase our shutter speed, our image is going to be darker, right? So why is this image is not dark? Right? It still look nice in terms of the lighting. Right? So some of you might know the answer, some of you might not, but to increase the what you call it, the brightness with a higher shutter speed, what you can do is to increase the ISO. All right. So that is the combination that you can do. Even for this one, okay, this is 5 seconds. This is usually the image is going to be very, very bright. All right. This is another technique that I will explain later, because this image over here require aperture adjustment. Right, that's another topic. Right, aperture is also controls the lighting exposure. Right, if you close the iris, it will make your image darker. Right, in this case over here, because it's 5 seconds, so 5 seconds. Remember, shutter speed is very low. Image is going to be bright. So in order, because it's already bright, so it's either the photographer reduce the amount of ISO, right? If lower ISO is not enough, if it's still bright, what they can do is to turn off or increase the number of aperture, and it will becomes darker, right? So aperture is something that I will have to explain to you later on. Right. Okay, this is the sample from the shutter speed. Right. Quicker shutter speed tends to have darker image over here, and longer shutter speed or slow shutter speed will have a brighter image outcome. This same goes with video as well. Whatever things that I'm explaining over here is very well connected with video graphic setting. Right. So now, what is aperture? Okay, aperture can be defined as the opening in a lens through which light passes to enter the camera. It's something like your eyes, pupil. All right. So if you look at the eyes in using like a very micro lens, you see that if you are exposing to a very light or bright area, your pupil is going to become smaller, right? Because our eyes need to adjust in terms of the brightness. So it is exactly the same, but in camera, it is called, instead of pupil, it calls iris. Okay. So this is the iris of a camera, all right? So basically, if you increase the number of aperture, this thing over here is going to be smaller. So basically, it will close up. All right. So if you increase, it will close. And if you decrease or make a smaller adjustment, it will open up your iris. So when you open up the iris, your image is going to be brighter. And when you close up the iris and you close up the iris, is going to make your image darker because the amount of light that comes in is very, very low. Okay. So this is the sample. From the left, you have the large aperture, where if you open the iris, it's going to be super, super bright. And while on the right, if you close down your aperture, which is the small aperture, it is going to be very, very dark. All right. Okay, now we go to depth of field. All right. I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with depth of field, but I think some of you might know. But depth of field is the blur effect at the back. At the back or in the foreground or whatever that is out of focus. All right. So in this image over here, this image, both of this image is actually using a very shallow focus, where we will have a very, very blurry background. All right. So if you want to take a photo of it, or if you want to shoot a video with a very blurry background, you have to open up your aperture. Right. For example, this one, this is very, very large aperture, 1.4. All right. So you have to open up. So the image at the back, which is out of focus, is going to be super, super blur. It's something like a portrait mode in your phone, something similar like that. While if you close up your aperture, right now is f11. 11 is like very, very close in terms of the iris size. So if you notice the image over here, it is very, very sharp. Everything is sharp. There's no blur at all. Okay, so that is the differences between the large aperture and also the small aperture, right? In other words, larger aperture, remember, brighter image, and smaller aperture, darker image, right? So there's a lot of things going on here, I understand, and it might take some time for you to understand this whole process, but yeah, take a good read of this exposure kind of settings, where you can mix and match so that you will achieve the correct amount of, or the correct image quality that you want. Okay. Yeah, this is another sample of aperture, right? Bigger aperture, 2.8 over here. It has it's open up the size. And this is a sample of a small aperture over here. I think you might get confused because when I said smaller aperture, but the number is actually increasing, right? So bigger aperture, the number is actually smaller. So I think some of you guys might be confused about that. But I think probably I will try to, and also this session is actually recorded, so probably the host can provide you the recorded session afterwards, so that whatever things that you are not able to understand, you can just refer back to this video. All right. So how aperture changes the exposure? So this is something that I mentioned as well earlier. All right, bigger aperture, brighter, smaller aperture, darker. If I'm in this situation, outdoor, on a very sunny day, I will choose this one, f5.6 over here, because over here I could still see all of the details, especially on the clouds. I can see the clouds over here. All right, so this one is like very, very dark, and this one is like totally overexposed. This is something that you really, really want to avoid, unless if you shoot raw, right? So just now you remember, if you shoot raw, if the outcome is something like this, even if you shoot raw, if your outcome is something like this, it's very, very hard for you to gain back. If your outcome is something on the picture on the second from left, it is going to be slightly easier for you to adjust. All right. Try to avoid the very first picture over there. It's super bright and very overexposed. Okay, this is for the night scene. All right. So even if you are shooting at night, just be careful. If you close your aperture, it's going to be like even more darker. All right. So even still, if you are planning to shoot at 5.6 aperture, all right, and then you want to make it slightly brighter, what you can do, you can lower your shutter speed to make it brighter, or you can increase your ISO to make it brighter. Same goes with the 2.8 for the first picture on the left. If you think that it is too bright, but you still want the field of 2.8 in that particular photo or video, right? So what you can do to make it darker, you can increase the shutter speed or lower down your ISO. Or it could be both as well. Okay, this is an aperture chart. I think probably I can just skip this one. Right, you can just refer to the video afterward. It is pretty much basically the same. Right, this is the sample of the level of, if you look at the cat's photo, from left to right, you could see the level of depth of field, which is affecting the iris or aperture size. All right. The bigger the aperture, the even more shallow depth of field that you will have. And if you have a very small aperture, everything in your video will be short. All right. Okay. The 180-degree rule. Okay, I will stop the sharing first and let's have a look at my other video first. Okay, let me just double check the chat box. Okay. Give me a few minutes. Okay, I'm sharing a video that I shot in Myanmar. This one has been selected by the Vimeo community as the one of the best videos on the website in Vimeo. All right. So to explain a bit more further in terms of this video, if you notice that we'll always try to we call this a continuation shot. All right, it's the shot is continuous between the previous and the after shot, so it will kind of join together, right? So if you look at my video, usually I'll try to do something like that because I don't usually shoot one portion in this particular location and then the other particular shot in other location and just combine both, right? So it doesn't have the flow, right? Because if you have like too many places that you want to include, so it will look messy, and then in my opinion it will look messy and then it will look very random. It doesn't have the flow, right? For example, this one, if you look at the video, I try to focus on, I have a section of that particular places, right? For this one, I try to focus on the this temple over here, right? And even this one, I think if you notice the cut, not this one, yeah, this one, I cut the video when a person, I call it a person passed by my camera, right? And also remember, this video still edited according to the music beat. Okay. Right, different shot, but still in the same same action, I would say. Right, so this one try to show the life of the floating floating village over here. I usually goes to these kind of places so that I can learn the culture. So I will try to open up because usually if you don't travel much and you just traveling to the city, it's just like you are not exposed enough to the actual rural life. But again, if you look over here, I try to connect from one shot to the other shot. Okay. Same goes with this one. It is best if you are there already, just try to shoot at the same scene, same location, but the few angles of shot. Even this one over here, if you look at the this one of the kids is actually jumping, and then even on the second shot, continues the jump action of the kid. Can you see that? So how do I did that? All right. Do you have any ideas? Or no? I'm not using but basically I'm not using what you call it, two cameras. I've only have one camera with me, but I've told the kids, so I just approached the kids and said, hey, I try to explain as clear as possible to them, all right, and ask them whether they are willingly to act for me, all right. So obviously the kids are actually very, very friendly as well if you approach them, and basically what they did was try to do the same action, but I am the one that is switching my camera angle. Okay. But of course, usually if I approach these kind of kids over here, all right, so I usually, and also usually while traveling, I tend to bring rewards as well for them. And in terms of rewards, I don't usually reward them with cash or money. All right. So usually what I did, if I'm traveling to this rural area, I'll try to brought stationaries. All right. For example, for these kids over here, I offered them crayons. All right. So even if I told you, and if we just explain over here in Malaysia or in other city, right? So you just explain if you are giving a crayon to a city kid. So city kid, I think probably is not going to appreciate that much, right? So for these kids over here, when I offered them crayons, they were very, very happy. They were so happy. And actually, there's only one kid that I approached, and when I offered them, I offered that one particular kid a crayon. So basically, what he did was they brought all of his other friends. So each of them actually gotten their crayons, set of crayons. Right. So that is something that you can do as well. All right. Try your best not to reward them with cash. Right. Try to reward them with something. Even this part over here, this woman over here, this woman is actually was carrying a baby. All right, I think she was resting at that time, so she put her baby on a cloth mat on the ground. So what I did was I approached her and I said that I want to shoot a video. She she happily agrees to it without any expectation of the reward. But actually, I just gave a set of pen to the baby. Hopefully, right now, I think probably the baby is probably like one or 2 years old right now. Hopefully, he still remember and also still using that pen that I gave to him. But try to not spoil them with cash. All right. Okay. So this is not visual effects actually in terms of the hot air balloons. It is actually there. All right. If you are in Myanmar, if you are in this, I forgot the name actually of this temple area. But every morning they fly like a hot air balloons over here. All right. Okay, where's my slide over here? Let's continue a few bit more. Okay. Okay, now it's the 180-degree shutter rule. Right. I think if you are actively doing filmmaking, you are probably familiar with this rule. But if not, so probably this is going to be slightly technical and for you to understand. But this is the one that will make your video cinematic, right? Especially in terms of the movement of the talents or whatever moving object in your video. Okay, so basically 180-degree rule uses a double frame rate. Right? You remember frame rate that I explained to you just now, like 1 second we have 25 frames per second, right? So if you are shooting in 25 frames per second, right, for video, your shutter speed should be at 150, right? If you look at the very bottom text over there, I put there 1/50th. Right? So it means that your shutter speed is at the 50th speed. So if you notice that it is actually double from my frame rate. Again, my frame rate just now was 25 frames per second, right? So for example, if you are shooting in 30 frames per second, so if it's 30 frames per second, so your video setting for the shutter speed has to be in 1/60, right? It's double from 30 frames per second, but it goes up to few more frames. For example, if you're shooting in 60 frames per second and your shutter speed should be 120 because it's double, right? That is 180-degree shutter roll. Okay, why is that very important? Because it will give you a natural motion blur, right? For example, if I wave my hand over here, you could see that the motion blur, right? So this is the natural motion blur that you will get if you are shooting with this 180-degree shutter roll. For example, if I'm waving my hand like this and your shutter is at 1/1000, so you will not able to see this blur, the natural motion blur anymore. This my hand over here is going to be sharp, right? Even if I move fast like this, it's going to look sharp and it doesn't look natural, right? So this is very, very important for you to have and to get the cinematic motion blur, right? This is very, very important. Trust me, it will make your video look more natural instead of just like if you're using like higher shutter speed, it's going to be very, very harsh and very, very crisp in terms of the movement. But of course, remember, just now, if you are using lower shutter speed, right, for example, this one 1/50, your video or image is going to be very, very bright, correct? Especially outdoor, it is going to be very, very bright. So to avoid that, that is why you need the ND filter, right? So like I mentioned earlier, ND filter is the tool that you can block the amount of light that is coming through the iris. Like I mentioned just now, just something like you wear like a sunshade on your eyes, similar like that. So when you set your camera to 1/50 and you put your ND filter, basically it's blocking the light, so the image or video is not going to be bright anymore, right? And also in terms of ND filter, it's best for you to get I forgot what's the name, but basically the ND filter is able for you to adjust the amount of darkness, right? Either you want to be slightly dark or darker, right? Is the name is variable ND filters, right? If you Google up variable ND filters, is a filter, is something like a 5-in-1 filters. I would say, because you can just adjust the brightness of the filter on the filter itself. And I think it depends on a brand. The one that I use is quite expensive, but if you want to use a cheap one, there is a lot you can find in Shopee or in Lazada. If you Google up or if you search variable ND filters, it will be definitely worth the money for you guys to buy. All right. So this is the graph that is affecting by the ND filter. Okay. So I'm not just gonna explain this because you can just read this through afterward in the Road Cadet session. Okay. The other thing which is very important is shooting with a log file. All right. Log file. Every camera comes with its proprietary log file, right? For example, if you are using Sony, they have a log file which is called slog. Okay, and if you are using Canon, they have an option where you can use C-log, right? And I'm using Fujifilm, it is called F-log. So when you shoot with F-log, your video is going to be if you shoot with log profile, your video is going to be very dull. All right, it looks very dull, and it something like the color is not enough. Something is broken up in the color profile of your video. But don't be distracted by that, because actually log file contains a lot of color behind it. Especially if you are planning to do color grading in your video editing, right? So log file is the way to go. Okay, let me just show you the sample. Right, these are few samples from a log file. Right, if you look at on the left, that is coming from a Panasonic vlog file. On the, if you look at the split image over there, on the left one is the color corrected version, while the right one is the log file, which if you can see is very dull, right? Very less contrast. Same goes with the image, the two image on the right. Right, on the left one, it's been color corrected, right? It has like some nice blue sky, and we have a warm tone of the rock, while on the very right image is actually the log file, where you can see that it's very dull and very less contrast. But again, it contains a lot of dynamic color inside. Again, if you are shooting and if you are planning to do a color correction or color grading afterward in your video editing, you have to shoot in log color profile. All right. Okay, videographers use log in order to get the best out of the shadows and all other details, because they know they can regenerate the colors, but not those details. All right. Okay. Thank you. So now I'm just gonna stop this session, and I will share you my very last travel video. Okay, I shot it in Japan. Again, Japan, if you notice, there's always Japan, because Japan is one of my favorite countries to visit. I've been in Japan in 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, and last but not least 2020, just right before pandemic in the month of March 2020. Let me just share the screen. Sorry. All right. Barrel. Yes, I am using Fujifilm X-T3. Fujifilm X-T3. Yes, and have the DJI Ronin, the stabilizer, and also I'm using the old Mavic Pro, DJI Mavic Pro for my drone. Suresh, most of it is actually it's a actual sound, right? Unless the the drone shot is actually added up, and also yes, the sound of the clicking and also it has been inserted because that one I was at the back of the door, so usually we couldn't hear that sound of the clicking. That's good that you noticed. So so right now I am opening to Q&A. If you guys have any concerns or question regarding anything that is related to camera or drone, because I've been talking like it's almost 2 hours straight. Angeline, I am using variable ND filters. Yes, fixed ND filters, of course, will give you a sharper image, but in terms of traveling equipments, I would go for variable because especially if you want to use or want to buy the variable ND filter, just make sure that you get the expensive or the good one, because I'm using Stephen. Stephen is quite expensive for one filter. I spent like 500 ringgit just for the filter variable, but the image is actually quite good. Hafiza, Hafiza, it depends, but usually for my traveling film, it's quite slow actually because I am not attached to any client, so usually I'm just taking my time doing those color grading, editing. Usually for my first round of edit, I don't usually use it as final, right? Because I always look back at the video repeatedly so that whatever shot that I think is not good enough, I will just remove it and change it with another shot. But I think for video like this, usually I don't know, it really depends on the editor, all right? Because especially for me, travel film, I don't usually rush things. Usually about 2 weeks, I think it should be done, right, for me. Yes, depends on the mood also. And Joshua, I am using DaVinci Resolve for my editing and color grading. Okay, Beryl. I'm just typing the requirements. Okay, that is my, in the chat box is my go-to equipments for video, traveling video shooting. Angeline, I usually for traveling I just use two lenses. I wouldn't go for like many lenses because yeah, it's quite heavy. If you have any question, you can just jot down in the comment box. How do you plan your travel video? Oh, okay. Actually, Rolly, to answer your question, before I go out for traveling, I listen to a lot of songs, right? I listen to a lot of songs. I'm not kidding. I think probably hundreds of songs, and I will choose that one particular song that I think will suit my travel video. And then from that song, I will try to imagine the shot that I want. Like it's something like what I have in my head, right? While doing research on the places that we want to go. For example, if you want to go to Kyoto, and then if you search image Kyoto, you probably could imagine the shot that you want while shooting. So that is what I did. I usually just listen to music first, listen to the song, finalize the song, and I'll try to imagine the video that I'm going to shoot according to the song, because song and music is very important because it gives you emotion, right, while you are watching a video. For example, the latest video, right, the Japan video that I showed you just now, just imagine that I'm using a very upbeat sound, like a EDM music. So I don't think it will match that well in terms of the emotion and the audience engagement. Better, I think for beginner, I would suggest you guys to try to look at a lot of videos. Even me, even right now, I'm still looking at a lot of videos online and use it as my reference. Reference is very important, right? If you look at references, if you look at other people's video, you would somehow will generate and will some kind of have some ideas on how to execute your project. It's very important. All right. Any more questions in the chat room? This is the best time for you guys to ask. I think H265 is usually records higher file size, and it says save storage spaces. I think I'm not sure. What is what model is you are using for your phone? I think probably you have only like 35% storage left if you're shooting in H265. And Angeline, I'm afraid that I'm not able to answer your question, all right? Because honestly, I have not used the fisheye yet, lens yet. I apologize for that. Beryl, learn shooting first. Edit comes later. It is best if you know the technical side to get your video quality better first. Then only you start editing. If you could master the setting that I explained just now in terms of the ISO, the aperture, and then the shutter speed, if you could just, if it's already there in your head, it should be fast enough for you to shoot. I think probably you might need to master that first. Joshua, no. Usually, if it's raining, I don't usually shoot when it rains. Yeah, I just usually shoot during sunlight or bright day. But it is also depends, all right? Because for me, if I'm shooting a music video, right? Usually for my music video, we are shooting in the studio. So in the studio, it's quite safe because the weather outside is not affecting whatever lighting that you have in the studio, right? But it's for outside shoot, I don't usually shoot during the bad weather. Nur Hafiza, 60 frame per second is going to take a lot of storage to compare with 30 frame per second. Because remember, 60 frame, you have like 60 images in one second. So it will have like a lot of space inside. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen for tomorrow's session by Mr. Nazim. All right. Okay, tomorrow is going to be an editing session by Mr. Nazim. All right. So for those who wants to, I suggest you follow the steps or the session that will be conducted by Mr. Nazim. All right. So tomorrow he is going to use exactly the same software that I'm using, which is DAVINCI RESOLVE. All right. So it is best for you to download this file. All right. So you can just Google up this software, DAVINCI RESOLVE. All right. And then where's the download page? Let's just go inside first. Or maybe I can just put the link as well in the chat box later on. Go down. There should be yes, this one, DAVINCI RESOLVE. Right? You can click this one, the free download now. Let me just share you the link in the chat box. All right, if you go to the link later on, underneath of the page, you would see the version. When one is the free version and one is the studio. All right, just download the free version now. In terms of the differences, it's very minor. Right, for Resolve Studio, you are able to, the only extra things inside is you are able to put a film grain inside your video, an actual film grain, and also you are able to shoot in 4K format, through 4K format. right? So for this one, the free version, I think it's already good enough for you, because I don't think you are editing, or I mean, in terms of the export video, I don't think you are exporting a 4K format right now. You are able to import 4K video inside, but you are not able to export a 4K. But usually, also for my video, usually I will shoot in 4K. I import 4K size, but my final output is going to be full HD only, right? To get faster viewing. Right, but when you click that, they will come out with a what we call this pop-up window over here. You can just click Windows, all right? This is the latest one, Resolve 16. And when you click Windows, and it will ask you to register for the website, and you can just type in your email, and then afterward, you can just start downloading. Let me check. Thumb, you can download the 17 straight. Madam Rani, yeah, for the software, it is not available on mobile phone. So it's either if you have laptop or you have PC, right? So just in case if you are not able to use any laptop or PC tomorrow, I think that's okay, because you can always look back at the recorded session also for your reference. DTMP. So I'm not sure what's your real name, but for maintenance, I would say rarely actually, because my equipments are stored in the I forgot what's the name of the box. It's a dry box. Yes, all of my cameras and lens are stored in the dry box. So it's also very one of the important storage box that you have to have actually, especially if you are doing video, and also especially because we are in a very humid weather in Malaysia, right? Because if you just store your phone and not phone, your camera on the in your room, and if you didn't use it often, fungus will started to evolve in your sensor, right? So that is something that you want to avoid. It is best for you to get a cheap dry box, so you can just store your stuff or camera or electrical equipments in that dry box, so you can just forget about the fungus problem later on. All right. Any more questions? So this is just a site. I always post up my stuff on my Instagram as well. So for those who wants to follow my Instagram, so you can just do so as well. Some free promotion over here. Right, if you want to follow, and if you want to look at my photos over here, feel free to follow the page. Any more questions, guys? Does the video recording end? Yeah, I think Madam Rani, are you? I think Madam Rani and from the LTP side will share the recorded session, but I'm not sure whether how are you guys going to share it. But obviously, I think you will get the recorded session probably by tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But for the presentation slide, I will share it with the admin team as well for them to upload, so that you guys can have a good reference for you guys to look at.
Thanks, Encik Firdaus.
Another question by Beryl. Okay, Beryl, for the settings, it is actually, like I mentioned, it's actually the same. It's just the outcome is different. If you are, for example, if you are shooting a photo, right, and a video with the same setting, right? Same setting. This is as the same shutter speed. Video have the same shutter speed. So if you take the photo, then after that you take a video, and if you compare, it will look pretty much the same. It's just that the video is moving, but in terms of colors, in terms of brightness, it's pretty much the same. Unless if you are shooting your video in lock color profile, right? As I mentioned just now, if you shoot in lock color profile, the only differences between the photo and video is the color only. Other than that, in terms of the brightness, in terms of the shutter speed, it's the same. Any more question? One last question before I hand the session over back to Madam Rani. Okay, no question. So, all right. So just a last what we call it, last words from me. All right. I would say thank you to LTT Global and also Madam Rani for organizing the session for the people to join in, and also I hope all of those knowledge that I shared today will be valuable for you to apply for your future project or for your future branding promotion or whatnot. Right? If you have further question, I think feel free to email me or feel free to just direct message me on my Instagram page, right? Because I think I have to hand over the session back to Madam Rani. Right? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Encik Firdaus. It was truly a lovely sharing. I love all the videos that you showcased, it's really amazing. And I'm sure that you inspired a lot of people here today to get into video creation. So that may be a new hobby that they will all start. And I also like to thank you for, accepting our invite to help our participants. So thanks again, Encik Firdaus. Maybe everybody can give an emoji for clapping hands for Encik Firdaus to show your support.
You are very much welcome.
Maybe we can take a group photo if everybody can on their camera, because this will be like a memento for Encik Firdaus as well.
Yes.
It's our first masterclass, and we decided to have it as a public edition so that everybody will also get to learn from you. But also we will hope that they would help us to create awareness about GetEmployed.today program and share with anybody who is unemployed, whether friends or family members. Please let them know about GetEmployed.today. It's a free program for unemployed Malaysians. Let them benefit from this, at least together we can impact lives, right? So that's all from me. Please, if you can, do download, and tomorrow, create, follow Encik Nazim tomorrow, and, do something like your first masterpiece or, something like that. But I'm sure some of you here already, from the questions you asked, you're already exposed to this, but it's really great. And thanks for all the participants making time today to join, and make this event a success. So How about everybody else? Don't you all want to on your camera? They've got like 50% only on the camera so far.
But usually videographers are camera shy. So
Camera
probably-
shy,
Yeah.
but they expect other people not to be shy when they are shooting.
yeah.
Yes, that's the spirit. Come on, guys. Few more, and then maybe Colin, can you do the screenshot for everybody? Anybody else not camera shy and wants to open your camera? Come on, be sporting. Okay, I think that's all.
Smile.
Smile, smile.
Smile.
Oh, Encik Nazim is here. Okay. One more, Colin.
Okay, hold on. Okay, please smile. Okay.
Okay. Last but not least, our heartfelt thanks to Max, Ahmad, and Colin for helping to manage the tech together with Encik Firdaus. Okay. Have a lovely evening. Don't forget to come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Don't have a happy lunch and then go to bed, okay? Come here. Okay, so tomorrow we have a date at 2 o'clock. If you can download, then you'll have fun. Otherwise, you can still come and attend and learn, all right? Take care. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Firdaus. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining in.